What if the BBC just got completely exposed live on air? Reform UK's Zia Yusuf walks into a routine interview, and instead of dodging, he launches a brutal counterattack, slamming the Green Party for calling Jews abominations on humanity, accusing them of false flag conspiracies on arson attacks against Jewish ambulances, and then turning the gun straight on the BBC for their blatant bias and selective outrage. While hard-working Brits freeze under the world's highest energy bills thanks to insane green levies, the mainstream media obsesses over reform's every slip-up, but buries scandals from other parties. Is this a calculated deflection or the raw truth the establishment doesn't want you to hear? Energy prices exploding, anti-Semitism scandals ignored, and politicians jetting off to Davos. Stick with me because this interview just blew the lid off everything. The real question is, who's really dividing Britain and what are they hiding? You won't believe what gets said next.
That the attacks, the arson attacks on the Jewish charity ambulance were a, quote, false flag. A Green Party council candidate made that same claim. The BBC has not even reported on that, Laura, and I think that's unbecoming. What is totally unacceptable is walloping hard-working British people with the highest energy costs in the world as a direct result of green levies on people's bills, just so that virtue-signaling politicians can get on private jets and go to Davos and compete over who can be Greta Thunberg's best friend. That is the height.
So welcome to the programme. Now, Reform this week has launched a prize draw saying that Nigel Farage would pay a whole street's energy bills. But we had a look at how it works. You'd have to fill in your email address, you'd have to give all your personal data and say how you would vote. It's not just you going after people's data rather than trying to have a serious policy.
Laura, if you're entering a competition, you do need to offer some details, and no one is obliged to talk about how they voted. But the reason why we launched that competition is to draw attention to the fact that Reform is calling on this Labour government to change course and actually reverse all of these awful energy policies that the Tories put in place. So let's talk about every place that people watching this programme are going to come into contact with energy costs, right? Number one, at the petrol pumps and the diesel pumps. So we're talking about an emergency halving of VAT and reversing this abominable increase in fuel duty that's coming. And on your home energy bills, we're talking about abolishing VAT completely and removing all the green levies. And can I just say, Laura, I couldn't believe my ears hearing Kemi Badenoch talk about how she wants more drilling in the North Sea when it was the Tory party that slapped a 75% tax on it, abolishing the green levies that give us the most expensive energy costs in the world. It was the Tories who put those levies there in the first place. They are shameless arsonists offering to rebuild your home, having spent 14 years burning it to the ground.
And we'll come to your policies in a second because people will want to know how you plan to pay for those promises. But firstly, on this point about the competition that you're running, what are you going to do with people's data? Because there are very strict rules for all political parties. If you fill in a form, hand in your data, hand over your date of birth and your address, what are you going to do with people's data?
Well, I was chairman of the party for a significant portion of the last couple of years. I personally oversaw our GDPR and data compliance, and I'm very comfortable with our position on that. Are you putting to me that we're in breach of GDPR?
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm asking you what you're going to do with it, because you're giving people what sounds like a great offer, and they have to go and fill in a form and give you some data. What are you going to do with it?
Well, everything that Reform would do with the data is in the terms and conditions, which people have to opt in and specifically check a box to allow them to do. But let me reiterate, it's a competition, which could be worth quite a lot of money, a whole street of energy costs. And again, the whole reason we did that was to draw attention that we're going to save, the policies I just mentioned are going to save £200 off the annual home energy bill of the average British household during a cost of living crisis and reduce petrol prices by 12p per litre and diesel.
Supposed to be a normal BBC interview, but Zia Yusuf dropped a bomb. Green Party activists called Jews abominations on humanity, a disgusting anti-Semitic comment. The shocking part? The BBC tried to bury it and didn't even report properly. Green Party members even claimed the arson attack on a Jewish charity ambulance was a false flag operation. A council candidate repeated the same nonsense, but the BBC? Complete silence. Not a single line. Why this double standard, guys? Zia straight up accused the BBC of bias, selective outrage, and double standards. They give massive coverage to every small Reform mistake, but stay totally quiet on the Green Party's hateful anti-Jewish comments. Is this what fair journalism looks like? Line Reform hit hard on energy bills, scrap green levies, remove VAT completely, and make petrol and diesel cheaper. This could save the average household up to $200 a year. But the BBC only asked about data privacy and completely ignored the real cost of living crisis. Line Reform says heat here?